In tonight's Political Insider, the financial hill decline for Joe Biden's presidential aspirations over the weekend. Mr. Biden met with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. Then he went out and hired Kate Bedingfield, former spokeswoman for the John Edwards 2008 presidential campaign. And by the end of September, Mr. Biden is expected to announce his 2016 intentions. But there remains a big hurdle. Can he compete financially with Hillary Clinton? For more, we're joined this time by Dave Levinthal, senior political reporter at the Center for Public Integrity. Dave, nice to have you with us.
Hey, good to be with you.
Mr. Biden would be playing from behind, and maybe that's the understatement of this political season. Mrs. Clinton has amassed a huge sum of political donations, and she has an equally imposing campaign staff. Paint us the picture here. How would Joe Biden's late entry affect his ability to raise money? Does that mean PACs are going to have to play a big part of this?
They almost certainly will. And look, Joe Biden, regardless of whether he does or doesn't run for the White House, wants to become the next president. He's already run for president on 2 other occasions, most recently in 2008. He's been the vice president for 6.5 years. When it comes to money, though, although he didn't have a very good run in 2008 when he only raised about $8.5 million in his short-lived campaign where he dropped out right after the Iowa caucuses. We reported this month at the Center for Public Integrity that most of his donors from that campaign are keeping their powder dry right now, and they haven't donated to Hillary Clinton. They have not donated to Bernie Sanders. So if Joe Biden does jump in, it's very possible they'll get on board too. The Washington Post also this week reporting that many of Barack Obama's big-time money bundlers, the people who go out and fundraise on behalf of Barack Obama, they too are keeping their powder dry and have not donated or bundled for Hillary Clinton. And
those bundlers may very well be the most valuable players in this whole equation right there, because they're the ones who put together these really big dollar deals. It's sort of a pyramid scheme, if you will, and they're at the very top of that pyramid.
Without question, it's sort of a 2-pronged pyramid in a way. You've got the bundlers, but you also have something you just simply did not have legally in 2008 when Biden last ran, and those are super PACs, these organizations that can raise and spend unlimited amounts of money and are making such a demonstrable difference here in 2016. We kind of got a preview of them in a major way in 2012, but they are in their full flourish here in 2016. So the question for Biden is he going to not only be able to get people who will donate to his own campaign, but also donate to these freewheeling organizations that have the ability to, in one fell swoop, raise $1 million to $10 million from a single donor, union, corporation, be it what it may.
We've been talking about the mother's milk of politics, the money, but what about the boots on the ground, if you will, the organization, the depth and breadth of a presidential run? Is it too late to attract one of those for Joe Biden?
That's going to be a major question for him and a huge obstacle. Hillary Clinton has been at this for a couple of years now, building the foundation for a campaign that she launched earlier this year. You can argue that it went well beyond that and goes back to 2008 when she ran for president and built a major operation that, at least in some form and fashion, was able to stick together, or people were ready to go and support Hillary again if she ran. So Joe Biden has got a lot of ground, quite literally, to make up during a very short period of time if he jumps in, and the indication is it's not going to be tomorrow or even next week, but probably sometime in mid to even late September before he makes an ultimate decision.
Dave, your organization has been shining a light on a number of bogus presidential candidates who are causing nothing but a lot of work at the Federal Election Commission. The whole thing started with one candidate on the ballot in North Carolina, and his name prompted a great deal of laughter across the country.
Yeah, sure.
Donald Trump still holds a commanding lead in the opinion polls. He's well ahead of his Republican rivals, but a new candidate has emerged that just might threaten his bid to make America great again.
A just completed poll in North Carolina shows Donald Trump leading Hillary Clinton in a possible presidential matchup, but that's not the part that's grabbing people's attention today. It is the third-party candidate on that poll, a candidate named Deez Nuts. A candidate registered as an independent from Iowa has the legal name of Deez Nuts.
This is no laughing matter, though, at the FEC. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on here.
Although just about everyone else is laughing about this particular guy and a whole host of other clowns and gadflies and people who have absolutely no chance whatsoever of winning the presidency, but have been able, because of the way things work, to fill out paperwork. Takes about 15-20 minutes to do. File that paperwork online, and lo and behold, you become, technically speaking, a presidential candidate as a result. So the non-laughing matter in all of this is that the Federal Election Commission is still on the hook, regardless of whether it's Obi-Wan Kenobi or Captain Jean-Luc Picard or lots of different cartoon characters, even a lot of folks who have names that we probably can't say on television. They have to do some measure of due diligence and process the paperwork, potentially follow up with them, and keep track of these guys who are really doing nothing more than getting a good laugh out of it themselves.
It's one thing if you're doing it for a laugh. It's another thing if you're doing something that winds up being, if not completely illegal, at least they're on the borderline. Where does the FEC have to walk that line, if you will?
Well, there's two things that can happen to somebody who fills out incomplete or false or erroneous paperwork of that sort. Number one, the Federal Election Commission can say, hey, you're wrong, we don't like this, we're going to pursue this and potentially fine you civilly, slap you with a monetary penalty because of you doing this. Now, the other thing that can happen is that the Department of Justice can get involved too from a criminal standpoint and say you knowfully and willingly falsified these documents. Do you think any one of these guys are going to get dinged by the FEC or the Department of Justice? Probably not. But at the same time, too, there is that potential out there that if somebody, particularly somebody who is a serious candidate, mucks around with their paperwork or doesn't do something that's fully transparent, there is the potential at the very least for something to happen.
Dave Levinthal is the senior political reporter for the Center for Public Integrity, and he's been our guest. Dave, many thanks.
Hey, thank you.